One of Jordan's famous performances was during Game 5 of the 1997 NBA Finals. Despite feeling sick, he had 38 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in the Bulls' 90-88 win over the Utah Jazz in that game. It was referred to as the flu game, but instead of the actual flu, the cause of MJ's illness may have been a supposedly poisoned pizza. Around 10:30 p.m. on the night prior to Game 5, Jordan was hanging out with his personal assistant George Kohler and his trainer Tim Grover when he arranged for a local Pizza Hut to deliver a pepperoni pizza to be delivered to his hotel room. But that's where the accounts of the night's events start to differ. Tim Grover claimed that 5 Pizza Hut employees showed up at the hotel room, all trying to get a look at Jordan.
100% it was food poisoning, 100%. But obviously it just sounds better to be the flu game than the food poisoning game. It doesn't even roll off your tongue correctly. So we were in Utah, and back then the team decided to stay in Park City. Park City was not what Park City is now. All right. So literally everything closed down at like 8:30. There was no room service in the hotel. And Michael said, "Hey, he's hungry." And I'm like, "All right, listen, everything is closed." And then I was finally able to find, "Hey, Michael, I found a pizza joint that's open." He said, "Order the pizza." So I ordered a pizza, and then the door rang. And by then, everybody knew what room Michael's was in because we had already been there for a while. And I opened up the door, and there's literally 5 guys standing out there to deliver a pizza. All right. So I take the pizza. Obviously, they wanted to get a glimpse of Michael. And, I handed the pizza, I paid the guys, and I closed the door. And I just said, "Man, I got a bad feeling about this. So he goes, "Hey, is this a pizza?" I said, "Yeah, here's a pizza." I told Michael, I said, "I got a bad feeling about this." He was like, "Oh, man, fuck you." Okay. So there was about 4 of us in the room. Nobody ate the pizza but him. Nobody. And there was no signs of flu, anything being sick before that. And then about 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a call to my room and just say, "Hey man, come to MJ's room." And he's literally curled up in a fetal position. Just like, I'm like, "Oh man, what happened?" So we went and got the team physician at that time, and just nobody could figure out what was going on. And I was like, and he had only eaten like a couple of slices. So you don't go from I've not known any flu that can hit you that fast, but I know how quickly food poisoning can hit you and what it does to an individual. But again, his mental toughness and his mindset was just like, "Hey, just get me well enough so I can get to the floor." And he goes, "Once I get onto the court," and he told Phil, he goes, "Phil, once I'm in the game," and I had mentioned to him too, I said, "Michael, the worst thing you can do is go in and out. Once you're in the game, you got to stay. You got to play as long as you freaking can, because once you sit down, that's it." Only in Utah. Yeah. We started to get a little better understanding of it. But listen, that's my story. That's what I observed. I was in the room when when this was going on. So if anybody had a better look than I did, I'd like to see who that person was, because they definitely weren't there.
In episode 9 of the Last Dance documentary, Jordan himself said he believed he had food poisoning, not the flu, and hinted that the pizza may have been deliberately tampered with by someone at Pizza Hut, the insinuation being that the employees were fans of the hometown Jazz and hoped that if Jordan got ill, Utah would have a better chance of winning the contest. But just days after this episode aired on ESPN, the man who claims to have made the pizza in question denied that the food had been poisoned. Ironically, Craig Fite, that was the guy's name, was a Bulls fan.
Park City, Utah, and it was ads, which it's been all over the place, and hopefully the company doesn't mind, but it was for Pizza Hut. They were at the Marriott Hotel down at the base of Park City Main Street. It was brand new at the time, or relatively new. Park City, the Pizza Hut was in Park City. It was actually across from the high school, which is the Pizza Hut's not there anymore. It's been turned into an Instant Care or something, but it's roughly about 5 minutes from the Marriott, which is at the base of Park City's Main Street right there. So when people are saying that it was in Salt Lake and that I drove, no, none of that happened. We were 5 minutes from it. That's why I believe the trainer was saying, hey, we looked all over the place to try and find a place that was open. And that's what they found us, because there were us and Domino's were open. I was not on the phone call. What was happening was the driver had gotten the phone call. He was taking it. And just to preface it, the Bulls, when they would order stuff, would actually order large amount, like 10 pizzas at a time or something along those lines. So, and that would generally happen during the daytime sometime, because they'd been there for about 3 or 4 days already, because they'd already played a game there before this game came up. So when the call came in at night, the driver kind of waved at me and pointed down, because he knew I was a Bulls fan. He pointed down at it, finished the call, and he says, hey, I think it's the Bulls. We're over to the Marriott. And, I think it's the Bulls. So he goes, I don't know who it was. We didn't know it was a player or anything along those lines, but that's what was happening. It's like, I need to take care of this because, in joking manner, mind you, I said, I got to make this pizza. I don't trust any of you guys. You're all Jazz fans. You all do something to this pizza. So I went ahead and made the pizza. I had a driver, which I keep telling everybody, God forgive me, I cannot remember who the driver is. And hopefully he'll see this or whatever, and he'd be willing to come forward. But I can't remember the individual I was with. But we went ahead and I had him take me over because it was my first delivery. So it's not abnormal, if you will, to have 2 people go to a delivery at once just to watch to learn the process. But let's be honest, we went hoping that obviously you're going over to the Marriott, you'd hope you meet a Bulls or meet some of the Bulls or whatever was going to happen. It was insinuated that he got sick. And in fact, right when they announced it in the beginning, I want to say it was Ahmad Rashad or whatever, but they announced that he had flu-like symptoms or whatever and that he got sick. I actually got a phone call, which I can't remember the details of the phone call. I know it was from someone at work. They were giving me a hard time about, thanking me. Hey, way to go. Way to try and get Michael 6 so the Jazz can win. Great job. And so I remember that part, but I was like, oh, no way. I didn't do that. No way. I took care. In fact, I even geeked out and watched the pizza being made to make sure it didn't puff up or make a bad pizza. I wanted to help the Bulls there, not, lose it for them or make them sick. I was a Bulls fan. I was a Michael Jordan fan. I wasn't a big fan of what Jerry Krause did, so I stopped being a Bulls fan when Krause got rid of all the Bulls. But I had worked, because I lived in Utah, I had worked for the Jazz before. So the Jazz, I'd always watched it. It was fun. And my wife's a big Jazz fan, so I've always been kind of a Jazz fan. But I was a Michael Jordan fan, especially since, when I first saw Michael Jordan, I remember when he had the shot and beat the Hoyas in the championship. I was 12, I think, when it happened, and I've always paid attention to him since then. Real quick, just so everybody knows, just because it's information, to people want to know where I come from. My son's name is Alexander Jordan Fite. So, Jordan, I'm a big Jordan fan, and no, I don't have any issues with him with all this stuff going on, but I appreciate the chance, Colin, to come on and talk.
So if the pizza wasn't poisoned and Jordan didn't have the flu, how did he get sick? Jason Ayer, the director of The Last Dance, provided a possible explanation when he told ESPN's Jalen and Jacoby that Jordan had spit on the pizza, a tactic he had used in the past to keep others from eating his food. Yet another rumor is that Jordan was simply hungover after having spent the night in Vegas or at Robert Redford's home. The whole situation from that Game 5 and Michael Jordan being very sick was used by many to paint Michael Jordan as this invincible basketball god that no matter what, he will always come through. On one side, this is understandable as the media is the media, and they always tried looking for a sensational story to air. The thing is that even without this happening and MJ being poisoned, or not, he was already in a league of himself and no one else. His legacy was already cemented, and he had been anointed by fans and media the greatest of all time a long time ago. Still, it made it for an interesting finals story that drew in more fans, created more interest and drama. Thanks for watching, and many more interesting MJ stories coming soon. Now enjoy these videos and please like and share as well.